Scott Stafne once referred to the situation as a genocide on injured workers. A bold statement, yes, but is it far from reality? Enter Darren Fonzseau, a man who has dedicated his life to shed light on this dire issue. He echoes Stafne's sentiments. The plight of injured workers in Washington state and across America is indeed a genocide, he asserts. We are talking about people, human beings, who are being denied their basic rights, their livelihoods taken away, their dignity stripped. Darren asks the hard questions. Why have progressive parties and candidates such as the Green Party's Jason Cole not actively fought for workers' federal human rights? Why is the voice of the injured worker not resonating in the hearts and minds of the nation's leaders? Darren Fonzseau is not just asking the questions, he is seeking the answers. He is advocating for change, for justice, for recognition of the rights of workers. He believes in the power of unity, of collective voice, of standing up against the odds. When we come together, when we raise our voices as one, we cannot be ignored, he insists. In the face of adversity, Darren remains resolute. This is not a fight that will be won overnight. It requires persistence. It requires resilience, he acknowledges. But I am committed. I will stand with and for the injured workers of Washington state and across America. So here we are, at the precipice of change, where the voice of the injured worker is beginning to echo louder and louder. A genocide, as Scott Stafne described it, is taking place. But there are those, like Darren Fonzseau, who refuse to stand by and watch. In the end, it's about the dignity of work, the respect for the worker, and the recognition of their rights. The urgency of this issue cannot be overstated. As Darren himself put it, the time for change is now, and I am ready to lead that change.
Compensation benefits have long played a critical role in the American labor market. Simply put, businesses pay insurance for claims if a worker is injured on the job. The employee gives up the right to sue, but the employer pays medical costs and part of the wages while the worker recovers. But a new investigation by ProPublica and NPR finds workers' comp is being substantially eroded. Over the past couple decades, legislators in more than 30 states have passed laws reducing benefits or making it more difficult in many cases to qualify for them. States have also cut off benefits after arbitrary time limits.
Hi folks, it's Darren Fonzseau talking about workers' compensation or labor and industries here in Washington state and across America. Tonight what we're talking about is politics and Democrats and Republicans and Bernie-crats. Interesting enough, I have two of them that all fall under Bernie-crats actually. One of them we're going to hear from first is Scott Stafne. He's a self-proclaimed Republican, log cabin Republican from Washington state, and he is running for U.S. Congress. And I will let him explain to you about workers' comp, and then after that you will hear from Rosa Calderon, who is a Democrat and a Bernie-crat out of California. She will tell us about workers' comp, and she calls it a war and one calls it a genocide. So let's hear from both sides, and we will hear from the Republican tell us how it's a genocide, and then we will hear from the Democrat out of California tell us the solution that nobody seems to want to do on either side. Yeah, both parties are in on it. But here we go. Let's listen to the candidates. Let's listen to the candidates tell us about workers' comp in America today.
Hi, welcome to our Revolution Washington Bernie-crats Coalition vetting interview of Scott Stafne from Congressional District 1 here in Washington State. Welcome, Scott. Thank you for joining us.
Said one of the couple of questions in here did relate to what I was going to ask anyway next. So I'm going to actually bring in from the audience here. They've asked it a little bit better than I was going to, so I'm going to use theirs. So we regulate spark plugs on a national level. We feel we should regulate I feel we should regulate state workers' comp laws on a federal level. how we treat all injured workers across the country, so it's equal for all. The question is, will you support Senator Sanders and Patty Murray and Tom Perez's call for minimal federal oversight for our broken state workers' comp systems? And do you feel we need a state fix or a federal fix?
Well, let me say, first of all, I appreciate the problem. I did workers' comp law at the federal level for longshoremen. I also had done it at the state level, and it has gotten worse and worse and worse. And let me explain why I think it's happening. I think we are experiencing a pre-planned genocide, and I think people simply need to open their eyes to see it. We see it with regard to workers' comp. We see
everybody, and welcome to We the People. Tonight, We the People meet Rosa Calderon. She's running in California's 4th Congressional District, and she is a geoscientist. And I am very excited to talk to her about what that is and what she does and all the activism that she's been doing, according to her website. Rosa, thank you for joining us on We the People. We're going to go to Laura Livengood. Thank you for your response. I really appreciate that answer. That was honest, and I appreciate that. Laura's got some questions. And by the way, Expanding Electrons, thank you so much. We're having a great discussion in chat, I see.
Oh, yes. So this is from Darren. Darren's very passionate about this, and I think I've simplified his basic question, but it really stems about how we are letting down our injured workers. And she's wondering, do you support Senator Sanders' call for federal oversight of state work comp systems? Feels like we are really letting our injured workers down in California, and wonder what you thought about that.
Yeah, so, in California, we have a lot of issues that I think that most people just keep saying they're state issues. But I think at the federal level, there is always something that we can do. And that is always done by incentives, right? Here in California, I used to work in construction, and I used to see how workman's comp used to work. In fact, my boyfriend, he's actually one of the people who was injured here in California. And after you meet a certain amount of days, you're kicked off the program. So you either you're rushed to either settle with the company that you were hurt with. And the deals aren't really there. And there's really no support at the state level to guide you through the process. And so there's really no oversight. I mean, so a lot of these companies are getting away with really murder. They're paying out people for fractures to their spine, at $10,000, $17,000 when they know that the lifelong care is going to be well into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that's just one of the reasons why I support Medicare expansion for all, so that people are not stuck with these enormous bills that they're going to have to fork out of nowhere. I mean, the amount that people are being charged for doctor visits and follow-ups are absurd, and no one can afford them. So it just leaves more room for more injuries in the future. And I believe that we can have some real progress if the federal decides to have oversight in every state. And I'm telling you that because California has higher standards than other states. So I can't imagine what's happening in other states.
Yeah.
Wow. Know your stuff there.
Yeah, I think he's speaking in terms like what he's seeing in Washington. It feels like war against workers, and they're really being let down.
Absolutely.
So,
I mean,